Hey guys, how you doing? It's Jeffrey Podford from the Open People Network, or OPN.Ninja. And today we're pretty excited. We came down to the UP series with the town of Whitby, but it's being put on by BACD and Vitalize. And the show today was awesome. It was Jonathan Hamilton from Point Alliance. He talked about all these great tools that you can utilize to better optimize sales. And one of the people that are in the audience is Lucas Chan, who is a York Angel and also runs Y2, which is a great innovation center that everybody needs to be a part of. And I wanted to get a quick insight from him. Lucas, how did you find the event went? And maybe you can give us a bit about why you're here and what you're doing going forward.
Yeah, so I came here because I heard about it from the owner of Vitalize, Frank Odino, and he told me, UP is the place to go, and awesome workshops, and the communities here and awesome information. I said, well, yeah, it sounds interesting, and then he kind of said, come in and talk about Y2, and I thought, well, okay, he just sold me. So what I came here, and what I loved about it was the information and community. So number one, on the information side, Jonathan did a fantastic job making the information relevant, no pitch, no sales, and tactical in the sense that I think everybody, I'm just doing a quick count, like 100 people in the room can take it back to their businesses right now and apply the principles and the actions that he offered. So I thought that was awesome. And the community itself, all the noise behind, in the background is these people are still networking. It's a great community and in a no-pitch setting. So I think this is a great event, great turnout, awesome place, one-stop shop to meet a bunch of people and get some knowledge along the way. And I love that OPN is recording it, because then you people who missed it get a sense of the vibe and can watch it on video. And really, that's kind of a reflection of the community, where OPN is part of that fabric. Vitalize is part of the BACD, Town of Whitby, and so on and so forth. It's a huge integrated community, which is awesome. You guys are helping to record that. And just, quick shameless plug about Y2 is that one of the things we do is we do conferences for teens to help them get a foothold and understand entrepreneurship, so they can experience some of this stuff as they go forth in their lives to solve problems. So we've got a conference coming up on October 14th to 21st. Go to y2labs.co for more info. But really the reason I'm here is I wanted to experience this, and it's been fantastic.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for all that great insight. And for the rest of you guys out there, you got to get to the UP series in the town of Whitby and look out for Y2 on October 14th to 21st. It's going to be pretty exciting, and you need to check it out. Thank you. And today I'm with Ken from Zamba. And Ken wants to give you a little insight on what did you find today? Why are you here? Did you enjoy it? Was it great? And should everybody come out and see this?
Yes, definitely. I came out to basically learn new ways to optimize my sales process for my business. And so then I learned a lot about, managing relationships with customers and also, managing your sales team after, basically making your sales process more, more efficient and more smoother.
So at the end of it all, are you going to come back? You're happy you're here?
Definitely. I mean, I learned a lot, whereas I actually can't wait to, actually try out what I learned. So
that's awesome. Well, Ken, I appreciate you coming out, and thank you for all the insights, and glad that you're here, and hope to see you next time.
All right.
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Jeffrey Podford from the Open People Network, or OPN.Ninja, and we're pretty excited today. We had an awesome UP Series event that's taken place in Whitby on behalf of the BCAD and Vitalize. We're pretty excited because we had a great talk today from Jonathan Hamilton, and maybe, Jonathan, you can give us a quick snapshot of how you felt the day went, and what one tidbit you can offer to the audience that you think is crucial for them in working in sales in their CRM.
For sure. Thank you, Jeffrey. I thought it went very well this morning. There was a great turnout, lots of good questions and interaction with the crowd, and it's always nice to get such a variety of people out, from entrepreneurs to students, business owners, and salespeople as well. I think if I had to think of what that tidbit would be from the presentation, it would really be around the collaboration of information as it pertains to CRM and the sharing of information between not just sales teams, but within the whole organization, and trying to get that 360-degree perspective of your customer or your member to better be able to know them and sell to them in the future.
That's awesome. And I think one other thing I would be curious of is what's going to happen with Point Alliance and Jonathan in 2017-18?
That's great, and always a little unpredictable to look that far out. But you know, the things that we see happening are certainly a lot of collaborative solutions for organizations, both internally and externally, with their members and customers, as well as a lot more analytics work. So reporting and analytics, whether again that's sales information for internal purposes, organizational efficiency, really getting those dashboards and those self-service platforms out to people who can use them.
I like that. That's pretty awesome. So you have it today with Jonathan from Point Alliance. Collaborate, share, be open, drive your sales. Look forward to some more analytics and some deeper details that are going to come out of Point Alliance in 2017 and 18. But we want to thank you today for coming and putting on a great talk. Thank you very much. All right, guys, thank you. It's Jeffrey from the OPN, and we're glad to be part of the BCAD event in Whitby. Thank you.
Wow.
Good morning and welcome back to school. Yes, we're back in school, right? Mr. Smokey. Good morning, everybody. My name is Teresa Shape. I'm the Executive Director for the Business Advisory Center Durham. I welcome you here today to our Up Sales talks. This is one of 2 years in a series that we're doing. So we're doing 2017 and 2018. We are partnering with the town of Whitby as well as with Vitalize. Frank Odino. Frank is bringing all the speakers to us. Thank you, Frank. And BACD is bringing the crowds and bringing people together. And the Business Advisory Center is a non-for-profit organization, and we are here to help businesses be successful and be sustainable. And we do that through running workshops and putting different talks and events together, and also through advisory services at our offices. So if you want to know more about them, I'd be happy to talk to you about BACD. But today, very excited to have this back in September because we took a break. We've got one September, October, November, and then we take a break for December and start back in January. Just a couple of announcements. On the table, I have a new flyer for Do It in Durham. Do It in Durham is a consortium of events with about 30 different partners. And what it started out as being is celebrating entrepreneurship, celebrating the job creators, innovators, and people that are making a difference in running their own businesses in the region of Durham. We want to inspire businesses to start here and to grow here. And part of that is coming together and celebrating and networking, and you know, all kinds of different events happen in that week. They're mostly free, and they're here for you to connect and meet people. So we're just starting to populate the website with all the events, but please, if you would come out and help us spread the word so that you know, we can all get together.
What's the date again this year?
The date is November the 13th to the 17th. Thank you. So global entrepreneurship happens in 170 countries, and there's 35,000 events that take place in that week. And in Durham, we do anywhere from 30 to 60 events, depending on how much energy we have every year. So I'd like to invite Daniel from the town of Whitby to come up just to talk a little bit about the town of Whitby and the things that are going on. Thank you, Dan.
Introduction, thanks. And we're happy to be hosting this series throughout 2018. We'll be witnessing the construction in the neighborhood. Downtown revitalizations, the theme for 2017, that's going to carry through into 2018. Just talked to the site supervisor at 360 Insights last week. They will be, he's quite optimistic they'll be occupying that space by the end of the year, which is a huge employer now for us, over 200 staff. Now we also saw Brock Street Brewery breaking ground finally. We're happy about that. The about 14,000 square foot two-story building there. It's going to serve as a brew house, also provides banquet space and serves as a restaurant. And then after that, whole West Whitby development area will become a big area that'll get developed in 2019 onward. But anyway, that's kind of what we're working on in summary. And thanks for coming out this morning.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Lucas Chang up to speak. Lucas is putting together a youth conference for entrepreneurship, so youth, hopefully for youth that are interested in entrepreneurship. And so I'd like to talk, Lucas to be able to talk a little bit about it. BACD is sponsoring it, but it is also about investing in our youth and helping them change their mindsets and start thinking about entrepreneurship. Lucas.
Thanks, Teresa. So there's amazing resources in this region to help entrepreneurs, whether it's the BACD, the town, the regional municipality of Durham, Startup Durham, etc. But one of the challenges that we've seen that we saw a couple of years ago was, as rich as the resources are for let's call it 19 and above, these resources are not as easily accessible to teens and preteens who are curious about entrepreneurship. They may want to solve a problem. Maybe they don't necessarily think about themselves in business terms. They just want to solve a problem. So those resources are not available because during the day they go to school, and we want them to stay in school. During the weekends, a lot of the organizations are not available. So 2 years ago, we started a conference called the Y2 Entrepreneurship Conference for targeted teenagers, high school students. And the purpose of this is to give teenagers who are curious about solving a problem. It may be of a scientific nature, it may be of a technology nature, maybe art, and maybe business. If they want to solve a problem and dabble in entrepreneurship to learn what it would be like to take a product, evolve it, and then build a business around it, let's give them the resources in terms of workshops. Let's bring the community together so that they can work with real entrepreneurs who will run their businesses day to day, and give them the youth an opportunity to work side by side with these entrepreneurs as mentors, as coaches, to give them access to people who know what it's like to build a business, even if they don't consider themselves business people. So the conference is being run out of UIT on October 14 and 21. They are running, so it's over the 2 Saturdays. And there'll be several workshops that the teens will go through. Customer validation, design thinking, building a pitch presentation, effective presentations effective presentations, why don't they stumbled over that? For entrepreneurs. Marlon will be delivering that workshop. And there are several people in this room. I'm just kind of glancing around. So Pat will be a mentor. Patrick, Jeffrey will be there. Frank has been a huge support. Teresa and BACD have been awesome, and Teresa will be a mentor. So this, part of what we want to do is bring the community together to work with youth. So if you're interested, or if you know of any teens who might be curious, and this is again not just about business. I know a lot of teens are not thinking themselves as business, but if they're interested in solving a problem, this might be something interesting for them to learn what it's like to take that passion to solve a problem and turn it into something that, it could be a business, but problem first as opposed to business first. There are some cards that are sitting at the front table. They look like this. The website, the Eventbrite, all the information that the students may want will be there. So if you have any questions, I'll be around, but thank you. And again, thank you to BACD, Teresa, the regional municipality, town of Whitby, Startup Durham. Just the community support has been fantastic, so thank you.
You know, they always say that it takes a village to raise a child, and I think it takes a village to raise a business, right? So thank you for starting off with that. Frank, if I can have you come and introduce our speaker today. Thank you.
Welcome to July. Thank you so much for choosing to be here today. We're just talking how wonderful the turnout seems to be to these sales talks, and it really would not be a success. You are the folks that make it a success. What turns me on very much is when I hear people that they've done business in the audience. The beauty about these events is you'll never see anyone on this stage trying to sell you anything, and I think that's part of the popularity. It is a sharing community. People want to help. They want to surround you to get better and to do good things. So that's why I'm enjoying these. Today's a little different. We have Jonathan, and actually he's also the the CEO of Point Alliances here as well. So Jonathan and John Zeri, they own the company. I first met John Zeri when I had size 30 waist and full curly hair down to here. It was great. And John actually was the only one in the office that knew how to work a computer. So you can see how far back we were going. And then the company that we hired to do our systems actually hired John, and he disappeared on me. And then they worked so they started their business in the worst time possible for IT in 2001 with the bubble burst. And they've been successful. This is their 15th year. So I first met John there. I met Jonathan, our speaker today, in about 2002. Okay? Now I have an official bio that I will share with you, but Jonathan is one of the most coolest salespeople you will ever meet. For some of you that may know me, I'm a little bit of a type A, sometimes a bull in the china shop. For him to work with me side by side, nothing ever phases him. Even when I tell him off, he still smiles at me. So that's why I'm delighted that he's here today. And what he's going to share with you guys is their story. I think the success of these things have been that people are sharing their story. You know, how they did it, what went wrong, what was the good stuff, who helped them, how did they get here. So they'll share you that. And then part B to the equation is that he's going to share with you what you can use, mostly free software, to help your sales grow. Okay, is that cool? All right, so I'm going to officially read the volume now, if you'll allow me. So Jonathan Hamilton today serves as the company's president, directing the activities of the sales and marketing group. Jonathan joined the Point Alliance team in the fall of 2002 to spearhead the sales and marketing efforts for all Point Alliance lines of business. Prior to joining, he was with a company called Cognicase, a pretty big IT company, where he served as director of consulting services. While at Cognicase, Jonathan managed projects and clients with companies like Barry Gold, UFT, Universal Music, Bank of Montreal, AOM Canada, Transamerica Life, some really big corporations. Jonathan is a graduate of Queen's University, where he holds a Bachelor of Commerce. Is that Kingston? Kingston. So, as I mentioned, a little bit about Point Alliance. Founded in 2002, Point Alliance is an award-winning provider of information technology strategies and solutions. Their consulting practice is recognized leader in delivering proven business solutions to about 300 global companies, backed by about 15 years of proven results from over 200 organizations that they've worked with. They offer comprehensive products and solutions that drive your business growth and success. Today, Point Alliance has grown to serve clients throughout North America and the Caribbean, ranging from enterprise and government to small and medium-sized businesses. They've been recognized numerous times as Canada's top most profitable companies, as well as being part of the 2016 Canadian ICT Companies by Branham 300. What Branham 300 does, is they rank the top 250 companies that are privately held tech companies in Canada, and they've been recognized as one of those companies. Today, Point Alliance, in his current role, Jonathan continues to actively participate and oversee the sales activities and has been involved with the IT industry for just over 25 years. When Jonathan sent me his bio, I said, this is all business stuff. Can I find out a little bit more personal? So he did give me some. I knew he loves basketball, but I didn't know how deeply he was involved in basketball. Jonathan has been actively involved in the community sports since coaching his youngest brother's soccer team as a teenager. Most recently, he has been coaching within the North Toronto Basketball Club as a rep basketball coach for the past 6 seasons, and he's also a board member responsible for the girls rep program. This season, he will be coaching a under-10 boys team and under-16 girls team, which coincidentally are the same ages of his children. Let me just read to you, if I could, what we promised you today. Are you leveraging technology to grow your sales? Are you still keeping client business cards in your desk or with an elastic ramp around your card, sitting on your desk? Is every sale you make different? Is your sales team scalable? Who knows your clients best? Have these questions piqued your interest? Then join Jonathan Hamilton, President of Point Alliance, a leader and award winner in technology consulting, as he shares his personal journey and business development expertise in overcoming challenges and seizing opportunities to find that sustainable growth that we all want. Having previously worked with Cognicase, Jonathan joined with partner John Zeri from Point Alliance and seized the opportunity in 2001, as we said, which was a really, really tough time. My company that I owned, when I first ran into John, we were one of the very first clients, and they helped us go from 6 million in sales to 55 million in sales in 5 years. Oh. And it was all about technology, and when I sold my company to Jim Pattison, which was also, my partner was Ted Rogers, it was really the technology that the new owners wanted that we had. And that technology, that foundation, still exists today with this company that is still in the market. With his background in IT and business development, Jonathan will provide a unique perspective on technology solutions, in most cases free, some tools, some strategies, and ideas that you can apply to your business and sales strategies to make a difference right away. Integrating technology into the sales process can make everyone's life a little easier, from visibility into sales activities, to more predictable sales funnels, to pushing orders right into the accounting system in the back end. These can assist salespeople, sales managers, and business owners just like you. So please, join us, be inspired, and help me to welcome Jonathan to the stage, and a big German welcome.
All right, thank you, Frank. Thank you. If I'd known you were going to say so much, I could have eliminated about 10 of my 30 slides. So there may be a little overlap. As some of you may or may not know, Frank is quite involved not only in getting the speakers, but in sort of crafting the message. So as a speaker, you need to be a little careful as to what you agree to or what he's said you're going to present. So former presenters will understand sort of what that means. But I guess, first of all, thank you, Frank, certainly for inviting me to speak. Again, Frank has sort of coordinated all the previous speakers. This is the 4th session I think I've been to. I won't say exactly which ones to not offend any previous speakers, because there are speakers here in the room, which is great. But as you know, I mean, Frank, again, everybody gets to say a little something about Frank before they get started, so I'll take my 60 seconds. We'll keep it clean. But again, very passionate, as you know, very caring, both for people and animals, very direct and succinct. Again, sometimes if you get a call from Frank at 6:30 in the morning, you may wish he's a little less direct, succinct, and passionate. But again, you sort of hit the snooze and you get back, because he'll text you right after that with exactly the message he just left on your voicemail. So anyways, thank you, Frank. It's a privilege to be here, so thank you. We did cover some of the material that I've got for you today. I did hear him mention free about 7 times. He only mentioned that to me once, so there is one slide on free. He also said there'd be a lot of opportunities for us at the end of this, so the non-selling part I was a bit confused about. But no, so this is not a sales pitch. Again, I'll tell you sort of who we are and what we do, but the purpose is really to tell you or relate some of the experiences we've had with other organizations and conversations that we've had, as well as our own experience at Point Alliance in using technology and in selling. So the high-level agenda about me, about Point Alliance, selling, CRM, leveraging technology, and question and answers. I would have had free in there if I'd known, but we can add that later. So, quick background, and Frank told you a little bit about this. Families and teams, and as you all know, you probably have more than one family and more than one team that you work with, and I've just got some pictures of my families and teams. First, my family, right there, from a trip a summer ago. Does anybody know where that is? I'm going to make this a little interactive to try and keep you awake. Any guesses? Sedona. Close, not the right state. A little further north. Bryce, who said Bryce Canyon? Yes, it is Bryce Canyon. Fantastic place. If you get the opportunity to go hiking or biking or any of those things in Arizona and Utah, I highly recommend it. So that's me in the middle. For those of you with really strong eyesight, you can see who I'm going to be cheering for since the Blue Jays are out and who I think will win the World Series this year. But you'll have to squint to figure that out. There'll be a test later. But I am a big sports person, so you'll see that sort of littered throughout the presentation. There's my second team. These are the girls from last year that I coach. A great bunch of kids. And again, with your families and teams, most of them are forced to listen to you. This morning, you guys chose to come and listen, so that's a refreshing change. Hopefully I won't get sort of those looks of eye rolls and just sort of look aways. Anyways, as we go through. Finally, the group at Point Alliance. Here we are at the Daily Bread Food Bank. Again, an organization we like to support, and we try and get out there at least once a year, if not twice a year, and my partner John Zeri is instrumental in organizing that. And then finally, the latest addition to the family, I had to sneak this one in. Again, this is Hudson, our golden retriever that we got in August. That's just to get me some sympathy if this doesn't go well. Hudson, actually, upon reflection of driving in this morning, very loving, very passionate, very direct. You may have heard those terms before, and we're seriously considering naming him Little Frank. He barks when he wants something. He gets up early. But anyways, very, very cute little fella. So, moving along, about me, and some of this you heard. So, born in Montreal. Okay, that's it. Please, come on now. Just want to make sure this is interactive. All right. Moved to Frank. How did that came up on top when I sent this to you. It slid in behind. So moved to Toronto. Okay, you can sort of see it there. Went down the road to Queen's University. Again, I won't tell you quite how old I am, but you can do the math. It's our 25th reunion this fall, so you can figure that out. Graduated and joined a company called United System Solutions. My partner is looking puzzled because that is not the logo of the company. I could not find the logo of our previous company, but the words look similar, and the rest of you wouldn't have known that if I hadn't have brought it up. So, joined them out of college. I had no background in IT whatsoever. I'd been doing landscaping. I had worked in the finance department at Canada Post, but had a classmate that had joined on at United Systems and said, "Hey, I think you'd be great for this." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, you're a buddy of mine and it's fun here, so come on over." So anyways, I was lucky enough to start there, doing everything from accounting to getting into hardware sales, networking, running the infrastructure group there, and then growing that team into selling messaging solutions, implementing email for companies and those sorts of things. As Frank mentioned, United System Solutions was acquired by Cognicase, which was then acquired by CGI. And as part of this and the timing around 2001, everything sort of went south quickly, and so the tech bubble burst. A lot of us left. John Zeri formed Point Alliance in the summer of 2002, and I joined on with him shortly thereafter. Look at those handsome devils. So anyways, we do look sort of happy. John looks a bit confused. That's because I think I had said, "How heavy do you think the Stanley Cup is?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Well, why don't you try and lift it?" And if anyone's been to the Hockey Hall of Fame and tried to lift the Stanley Cup, security moves quickly as soon as you start to try and touch it and look at you very puzzled and say, "You can't lift that. You didn't win it." And we said, "Well, I know, but how heavy is it?" And they said, "Please step away." So that's why he may look a little dazed and confused. He may have been hit right before this picture. But anyways, so I joined on with John at Point Alliance. And as Frank mentioned, we celebrated 15 years this summer. So about Point Alliance, and again, just to give you a little background and not to get salesy, founded in 2002. So we do a lot of web work, a lot of mobile work, a lot of integration, and really business process improvement as it pertains to operations and sales. We're based downtown Toronto. We're about 24 consultants, and so that's our size. Some of our clients that we've been fortunate enough to work with are a pretty wide variety, from not-for-profits to regulatory colleges. As Frank mentioned, we do business down in the Caribbean. Another quiz for you. Does anyone know this logo here? Any guesses about that? You can just shout it out if you think you know. It's the coat of arms of one of the Caribbean countries.
Dominican.
Not the Dominican. Trinidad. Excellent. There we go. All right. We're doing well this morning. All right. So anyways, not to dwell on this, again, just to highlight a couple. Durham College, the Durham Catholic District School Board. So we are actively involved in the east end of the city as well as downtown and further south. So some successful sales traits as we move off sort of who I am and who Point Alliance is. Time. And we'll bring these all back together as we sort of loop in technology. But everybody has a limited amount of time. And I put up pictures of sort of the teams and families that I interact with all the time. Some weeks it feels like one of those teams or families is taking a lot more of that time than others. And John Zeri overhears those calls every day. Could be a call from home, could be a call from a coach, could be a call from, anyways, an employee or a staff member. But How we use our time, especially as salespeople, is extremely important, and how we maximize our use of time. Choosing to do activities that will be most successful for ourselves and our organization, and not wasting time looking for things. There's nothing worse than looking for things that you can't find, that you think you remember, that maybe are on my C drive, or where did I file that, and that is wasted time, or trying to remember things. So, time is extremely important, and it's not just your time, right? It's your customer's time. So being on time for meetings is important. Returning their calls when you say you're going to return their calls, getting them the proposal before the deadline. All of these things are extremely important and valuable. Along those lines, communication. What you'll also notice is most of my slides just have pictures, so you don't have to read. So anyways, it will keep it fairly low down. I based it on my under 10 boys team, so I try and keep it simple. But communication is key, right? Again, getting back to people when you say you will. When they reach out to you, and we work with our staff on this all the time, and our staff are mostly developers and consultants and things like that. When someone sends you an email or leaves you a voicemail, you've got to get back to them, right? Even if the answer isn't great. The answer might be, I haven't done anything. But at least you've gotten back to them and you've told them sort of where things stand. Because if they don't hear back from you, and I'll bring Frank back into this as well, and unfortunately there has been the odd time when I have not gotten back to Frank. He calls John Zeri and asks if I'm in the hospital. So, there are those that jump to conclusions. But anyways, if you don't get back to someone, they don't know, right? Are you working on the proposal? Are you getting me that quote? Is there a problem? Was it a service-related issue? Just where do we stand? Collaboration. And again, these all affect sort of all the teams that you interact with, but especially a sales team. So are you sharing information, right? Because rarely does a salesperson, and rarely do you want a salesperson, doing all the work in isolation, right? They need to collaborate with whether it's the order management team or the quote and pricing team, other salespeople. There may be approvals on pricing from sales management and those sorts of things. So they've got to collaborate together to get something out in a timely manner. And it's never a bad thing to get something to somebody early, right? If the deadline's in 2 weeks, that doesn't mean that it has to arrive 5 minutes before the deadline as a proposal. You could get it to them a week in advance, and things like that will get noticed. Engagement and listening. There is nothing worse than not listening to someone and just talking as a salesperson. You need to listen to them. You need to engage with them. You need to listen to what they're saying that has nothing to do with what you're selling them, right? It's true. How are they feeling? Was it their kid's birthday? Did they go on a trip? Everybody likes to talk about non-work stuff. You can get to the work stuff. Again, you've got to be able to listen, though, as opposed to pushing things on them. We're lucky enough, again, that we have clients in a pretty wide variety of industries. We're a privately held company, so we're not driven by quarter-end results, month-end results, year-end results, those sorts of things, as some organizations are. We have a lot of good friends at IBM and Microsoft, and anyways, hearing that they have to be at the office New Year's Eve every year because they have to close year-end business and hit their numbers just sounds like an awful way to do business, both for a salesperson as well as the client, because once you start that game, it's a slippery slope that no one's going to talk to you about doing a deal until the very end of the quarter or the year anyways, because they figure you're going to drop your price if they wait, the later they wait. So, if you have the ability, and everybody doesn't, but, when they're ready, then that's the best time to sell to them. Again, in understanding that, you need a fairly big pipeline so that somebody's ready at some point, because you don't want no one to be ready for 6 months. Finally, we're all salespeople. And this is something that we try and instill, and this, I think, has been mentioned in prior sessions as well. We try and instill in our consultants that you're not just application developers, you're not just people going in, completing tasks, but you are representing the company, Point Alliance, you're representing the brand. You don't have to sell, you can just listen. You could come back to the office and say, I overheard somebody, or somebody was asking me, we're doing this type of project, but they've got a reporting project, or they need some help. Is that something we do? Is that something we could help them with? So, they're in a lot of cases interacting with your customers. They might be at a client site. So they're going to get a lot of this intelligence that they can bring back to pass along to somebody else, because they're probably not comfortable selling themselves. But again, they should be able to listen. They should be able to ask questions, because that's going to just help everybody out. Oh, now I'm going backwards. All right, so let's get into customer relationship management. And I was asked earlier before getting up, when somebody identified me as the speaker, as to how techie I was. I'm not sure if that was a concern or a challenge. That's why John Zeri's here. He's the techie one. I'm more on the business side, but I know enough to be dangerous. But again, customer relationship management, for those that know or don't know, and I'll just read this quickly. CRM is all aspects of interactions that a company has with its customers, whether it's sales or service related. While the phrase customer relationship management is most commonly used to describe a business-customer relationship, CRM is also used to manage business-to-business relationships. Information is tracked in a CRM system, includes contacts, clients, contract wins, sales leads, and more. So we talked to people about CRM probably back in the mid to late 90s and thought that it was cutting edge then. Some of the history we'll go into, but it's remarkable how little people still share, and how prevalent CRM is and how much it's still needed within organizations. I was just watching a video with John the other day that was a Microsoft case study filmed this summer at the Toronto Metro Zoo. And we thought, wow, I wonder what the zoo's up to. They're going to be, some great system. And they were sharing files in the cloud. That didn't seem that far of a stretch. We sort of assumed everybody knew what that meant. They said, we track things in Excel spreadsheets, and now we can share them. And this was going to be a presentation at a Microsoft conference this month. And we thought, well, again, the video's good. You got polar bears and panda bears and stuff. But, sharing spreadsheets may not be cutting edge. But again, what it reminded us was that so many organizations are not that evolved with their collaboration of information technology and information, whether it's in a CRM or other systems. So, we shouldn't be making assumptions that people are as far ahead as we think they are. So just stepping back in time a little bit, and Frank mentioned some of this, but historical sales tools, the ever-popular Rolodex, or collecting business cards, pen and paper, and lots of people still take notes, but it's really where do those notes end up? A cell phone. I tried to make sure that this wasn't a smartphone, but a cell phone. Again, a very important sales tool, whether it's for the phone or email. Again, some people might be using spreadsheets to track their information. Again, like the zoo, maybe not yet sharing it, and that may be a step in the right direction. Email. And again, email continues to be probably the most used tool. But again, if things are in your email, nobody else has access to that other than the IT administration staff that you might forget about when you're gone. But that's not a collaborative tool to have email go back and forth from one person to one person. And finally, in this picture, which you may or may not be able to see, some people may be trying to work out of their cars with a wide variety of things, trying to have some sort of remote office. So, does anyone remember these products? Yes. Act, Goldmine, Maximizer, and my favorite, Telemagic, is what we used in the early 90s. Does anyone want to fess up to still using one of these? Yes. All right. That's okay. It's something. So again, these were what existed or came out in the late 90s as contact management systems, right? They weren't full-blown CRMs that we know today, but these were contact management systems that people used. Today, some of the CRM vendors that you might be familiar with or not familiar with, I've listed up here people like Salesforce, Microsoft, Oracle and Siebel, Sugar CRM, Pega. So these are just a handful of CRM vendors. As I look at them, not free. And most of these are enterprise level. But that's sort of who the players are now who have evolved. So if we look at the milestones in the evolution of CRM sort of since the late 90s, and part of it was Tom Siebel leaving Oracle to form Siebel Systems and Siebel CRM, and then funny enough, Siebel being acquired back by Oracle a number of years later, even though he couldn't sell Larry Ellison on the idea that CRM was where things were going. Anyways, it was a nice payday for him much later. So just some of the milestones. Enterprise products. So as we started with contact management systems, you're putting phone numbers, you're putting names, you're putting emails. Again, these have become enterprise-wide collaborative systems that everybody has access to. And that's not just the sales team. It's sales, it's service, it's management. People may have access to different aspects of the platform. Web-based solutions. So again, when we looked at things like ACT, and Goldmine and Maximizer, you had to install those on your laptop, you had to install those on your PC. It's now web-based, so if you've got a web browser, you can access these platforms, again, from a laptop, from a PC, from a smartphone, what have you. Cloud-hosted technologies, so you don't have to put these on your server. You've now got the flexibility to subscribe to some of these on a per user, per month, or per year basis. On the free side, to make sure I get this in a few times, if you're a not-for-profit organization, again, these vendors have a lot of great opportunities and deals like the Microsofts of the world where they do provide you with free or near-free subscriptions to a lot of these services. And we'll go through, there are others that offer free alternatives. Social media applications, again, integrating your CRM with what you're doing on social media. So again, driving leads and opportunities, interactions through Facebook and Twitter and those sorts of things. And finally, mobile technologies. So again, as the workforce becomes more mobile, how do we access this information in real time from our phone, from our tablet, in our car, at our home, in front of a client? We don't need to be sitting at our desk in the office. So the CRM process, and again, we've talked about this at least at a high level, but we've got the CRM in the middle, and again, we've got everything from doing outbound marketing and campaigns to drive leads, to tracking sales opportunities, moving those through the funnel, from quotes to proposals to actual sales. And your CRM, in some cases, and again, it depends where you are in the evolution, will be integrated to some of these other systems. And I've got this on a future slide. But again, it's sales, it's service, it's payments, it's everything you're doing as an organization. So as we look at the integration, again, CRM being at the top, and we're going to move to the next slide, so I won't dwell on this too much. But so in this slide, you see CRM's not in the middle. And this is an interesting discussion we have with clients all the time, which is, if I'm replacing my system, whatever system that is, and I might have customers, I might have members, we do a lot of work with associations, does the CRM become my core system that I then integrate other systems with and hang information off of? Or is there another core database that really houses that information, and is CRM a module that plugs into that? So again, that's an interesting technical discussion to have with people. CRM vendors will encourage you that CRM should be the hub of that information, and then it will spider out from there. Others will argue again that CRM is a function within your organization and should not be the hub for all of your billing and member transactional tracking and things like that. So it is interesting to talk about that. But As we look at this, we've got the customer or member in the middle. We've got your CRM, your corporate website. Again, could be a brochureware website, but hopefully we're driving leads and interaction from our website. How do people reach out to us? How do they show interest? How are we tracking what they're clicking on our website and identifying them? E-commerce, mobile applications. The store, again, in this diagram, it's more retail-based, but let's assume the store is whatever it is you're selling to people. So how do all of these pieces of information tie together? Because when we go into organizations and see what they're doing, rarely is there one key identifier and one place where people are managing the customer or member information, right? We might have Frank's name. Let's use a not-for-profit organization as an example. We might have Frank's name for fundraising. We might have Frank's name as an annual giver. We might have Frank's name because he participated in the marathon. We've got Frank's name all over the place. How do we tie this together so that we can cross-sell to Frank, if that's what our intention is, so that we can have that 360-degree view of Frank's interaction with our organization, so that one group isn't reaching out and saying, oh, Frank, thanks for doing this. Well, thanks for giving $20 to someone who did a marathon, but what about the $5,000 Frank gifted earlier in the year and that we're not talking to him about, or we're not integrating that messaging? So how do we tie these things together, and how do we really understand and see what we're doing with this member, with this person, with this customer? And from that we look, so it's a customer-centric culture that we're looking to develop. And John Zeri actually mentions this to our salespeople all the time. You need the customer a lot more than they need you. Okay? As much as you may think you're different, you're unique, you're better than somebody else, maybe, but they've always got options, right? You need them so much more than they need you. If they don't call you back once or twice or 10 times, you can't get offended, or they don't reply to your email. They'll reach out to you when they're ready and when they need something, and they'll expect you to jump quickly. So again, you need to be focused on them. And how do you track them? How do you track information about them? Again, quotes, conversations that you've had, calls that you've made. And again, we're not going to track this so that every time we actually do make contact with them, we'll walk them through all the times we tried to contact them unsuccessfully and say, well, it's been 10 months and I've called you 24 times. It's a real pleasure to get you on the phone today. That doesn't usually start the sales process on a good note. Just be happy that they picked up the phone. Quite honestly, maybe they didn't look at the number and it was a mistake. So just, you know what, you've got them now, go with it and move forward. But again, it's all about the customer. So some of the benefits of CRMs. And there are different benefits for different people, and I know the audience today is varied, from students to business owners to entrepreneurs to salespeople. And CRM is an interesting animal because we talk about integrated solutions, we talk about the benefits, and salespeople, by their nature, don't like entering information, don't like sharing information, because they feel it's not in their best interest. So, as an organization, you've got to make it easy for them to use. It's got to come from the top as to the benefits of this. And it's got to be used by executives and management to demonstrate sort of how it's getting used and why it's getting used. Because you need the salespeople to buy into this. And you need them to share this information. So, again, make it easy for them to track follow-ups, easy to track activities. Right? It can't be a 12-step process to log that they called somebody or that they had a meeting with somebody. It's got to be easy. For the sales manager, and again, there's more benefits than this, but we're just touching on a few of the highlights. Ease of reporting. Right? You don't have to sit down with each sales rep every week or every month and say, what is it you're working on and where are we at with that? It's all in the system. It's real time or as near real time as they've entered that information. And ease of managing. so you know what they're doing, right? Are they making enough calls? Are they talking to enough people? Who are they talking to? Because again, and we're at a fairly small organization, but every organization has multiple touch points into customers. And as you trip over yourself, or as your new inside sales rep calls a customer where you've already engaged and starting a project, and they pick up the phone and think it's your solution architect and wonder why you have a salesperson calling them, again, you need to share that information as to what's going on, when it's going on, why it's going on, because some people will give you a pass on that, but others are going to start to get annoyed if you keep badgering them when you won a project 3 months ago and it was going quite well. And finally, for upper management and business owners, predictability. So what is in that sales pipeline? How much do we have to have in there to meet our revenue goals? And what is our close rate? Because you will get salespeople, and they range just like anybody, and we get our developers to put estimates together on how long they think it's going to be to build something. And you can give 10 developers the same task, and you can get 10 different answers back, and you will need to learn their tendencies, their risk aversion, because some are going to tell you, I can do that in an hour. And others are going to say, well, with proper testing, and I think I should build this in 4 languages, this will take a few weeks. So you've got to understand who's providing those estimates, and again, the reality check on that information. And that's tricky sometimes as you move through the sales stage as to putting a percentage. Let's say you're working on a $100,000 opportunity. Some people might say, well, we've got a 10% chance of winning this because then you're not going to hassle them. And when it comes in, they look like a star, as opposed to that 100,000 opportunity being tracked at 70%, 80%, 90%. And then they're getting calls from multiple people every week saying, is that going to close Friday? Is that going to close this Friday? Did you close that yesterday? And so you've got to understand, and you've got to come up with metrics that make sense, that are translatable to everybody. So again, the premise of the CRM is not to track this information to then have someone call you about what you put in the system. It's to believe what's in the system so that you don't have to call and harass people. So again, from an upper management perspective, it's real time, it's predictable. I can see there's dashboards and all kinds of fun stuff depending on how deep you want to drive into the data, but where we're at. So who owns the relationship? This one is interesting, and this one comes back to sort of that salespeople don't like to share because salespeople believe they own the relationship with the customer. Well, a salesperson working for an organization, the customer is the customer of the organization. But who owns the relationship is a tricky one, and we've sort of been down this road a number of times hiring our own sales staff, and as a company, again, of 24 and knowing many other like companies of sort of similar size and entrepreneurial companies, the partners of these companies are usually the ones who manage the relationships, and it's not the salespeople, which it's taken us a number of poor hires to figure out. You bring people in and they come from a vendor, they come from a competitor, they come from a different industry. And again, they have credentials, they tell you a good story, but their success rate is extremely low. And they sell you, they're salespeople. They come into an interview and they tell you they're going to do great things and you want great things, so everybody's happy, and then 6 months later, there haven't been great things, and sort of you may part ways. And a lot of that has to do with the relationship. And so, a CRM, again, helps an organization manage that information, maintain that relationship, transition that knowledge between people, because quite honestly, there are not, in my opinion, a lot of great business development salespeople who can go out and find new business easily. There are a lot of good account management people and account executives when given a roster of clients who are very nice and very friendly and can sort of keep your clients happy. But finding really good business development people is hard. And so the CRM, again, allows you to see who they're targeting, what interactions they've got, and if it doesn't work out, at least you're left with some value at the end of the day to sort of move on to those next people or follow up with them in other ways. So a couple more slides, again, from the CRM area and things that have changed, things that have sort of disrupted the industry. Cloud computing, again, as we looked at some of the vendors who are now playing in this space, again, a lot of them have cloud-based solutions. Some of those that were early to the game have their own cloud-based solutions and hence may be more expensive alternatives on a monthly basis, as opposed to those that allow you to put their software into a less expensive cloud. So Amazon Web Services, Google, IBM, Microsoft, everybody's sort of selling you space. And cloud is funny. I've had this conversation with a number of CIOs that CEOs believe they need a cloud strategy and tell the CIO that, what is our cloud strategy? And really the strategy is no different than it was 20 years ago. It's outsourcing our data center. Basically, that's what sort of the cloud is. So, CIOs sort of shake their head and go, oh, yeah, well, we can have a cloud strategy, but, are we just moving servers? Are we doing things a little differently? But it does certainly provide you with the flexibility to ramp up and ramp down your IT infrastructure a lot more easily and a lot less costly. And so, good examples that we use you may have seen the Hockey Canada logo up on our client roster. So, their big events are the Olympics, Olympic hockey, and the World Juniors over Christmas. And they have huge spikes in what they do on the web, and we do a lot of web and mobile work for them. So, it allows them for a 1-month period to ramp up, just like with any event, from 2 servers to 10 servers if they need to, based on capacity, based on performance, based on what they're doing. And that's what the cloud allows you to do, is ramp up, or we're growing our sales force for 12 months. Great, we need a lot more. Okay, it didn't work. Okay, scale it down. So you're really paying for what you use. Or from a development perspective, again, we don't need to buy development servers and test a bunch of stuff out. We can test it up in the cloud. If it works, then we can decide what we're going to do. So it gives you that flexibility. Mobile first. So some of you may have heard this term. And so, again, we'll just sort of define what this image looks like. But at the top, it says responsive web design, mobile first web design. So again, from a CRM perspective, from work you're doing on the web, as a website, as a web application that people are entering information, it's no longer let's design something for the desktop and sort of shoehorn the smartphone in. It's how does this look on the phone, because that's how our people are accessing it 60, 70% of the time. Again, they're going to access it from their laptop, they're going to access it from a tablet and their PC at home or at the office. But really, how does it look on the phone first? And is it easy to use? And does it make sense? And is it designed properly? So again, from a CRM perspective, they've recognized this. Salespeople, again, are on the road using their phones all the time. So a lot of the CRM vendors have either mobile apps or certainly responsibly designed sites from a web perspective to access this information easily, whether it's view, whether it's edit, whether it's create that information. I would be remiss if I didn't throw up a Gartner chart at a technology speech. Again, there's a lot of small dots, and I think these presentations get circulated. But anyways, it's really, again, showing you from, I think this is May 2017, from Gartner's perspective, who are technology advisors, gurus, funded by technology companies, so take it with a grain of salt. But anyways, who are the leaders in the industry, and who are those main players? Some of the top free CRMs. Whew. Let's check the time. All right. Good thing I had this slide in there. And I can put links behind these. But so these are some of the top free CRMs. Again, lots of platforms offer you limited use. And I can share a chart as well that sort of says what are the restrictions on some of these things. So some are better than others. And HubSpot CRM usually does quite well in these reviews because of their unlimited nature in some of the areas and their flexibility and features that they provide. But to my earlier points, again, there are free CRMs that you can use. There are CRMs that are by, pay by person by month and things like that. You don't need to stand up your own server infrastructure anymore and things like that. So you've got a lot more flexibility, even if you've got a sales force of 3 or 4 people, to start sharing this information. So, I'd encourage you to think about your CRM strategy within your organization, how many people you have, information that you're tracking, and how you could better share that information. Again, everything from meeting somebody at an event like this and getting their information into a system, to follow-up and creations of quotes and proposals, to what have we sold those people, and sort of tracking the life cycle of that customer or of that member. So goals of a salesperson beyond the metrics. So beyond how many calls did you make this week, how many proposals did you create, what's in the funnel, what have you closed, all of that kind of stuff. Do your research. So you've got to research these organizations that you're talking to. You've got to research them on LinkedIn. You've got to see if they've got a Facebook page. There's just too much information today out on the web not to know, going into a conversation with someone you've never met, a whole bunch of background on who they are, because there's just too many other people calling them, knocking on their door and harassing them for a meeting to sell them something. So you've got to do your research. Track your activities. So again, this is related to the CRM. Know when you called them, know when you should follow up. Again, when people don't have something, they'll push you off for a month or a quarter or whatever it is. But know what that is so that you can follow up on a timely basis, and that's easy for you to find and easy for you to view on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. Access to information. So again, not, did I save that on my USB stick, or did I put that on my C drive, or where was it, but that it's shared, that you've got access, real time or near real time when you need it. Build long-term relationships. So again, depending on your business, depending on your organization, and this certainly works for us, we're not interested in going out and finding a customer and doing one project and walking away and trying to find another one. Right? It's just too hard. Like once you've got a customer, and it depends on the industry you're in, but once you've got a customer, you really want to hold on to them as much as you can. Whether you're selling something very simple, let's say it's phones, right? They're going to need a phone refresh. It might not be in 6 months or 12 months. It might be 2 years. But again, you've got them. You've got to keep them happy. You've got to track all the information that you can about them so that they stay your customer. Because finding a new customer, and I think we've heard this before in these sessions, is monumentally harder than keeping an existing customer. Grow your network. So again, events like this, platforms like LinkedIn, how do you meet people? How do you grow your network to drive these long-term relationships that will drive your success? Because ultimately, and again, this is a common theme from previous sessions, you want to become a trusted advisor. Whether it's something you're selling them or somebody you're referring them to, you want them to come to you first for everything. And then you can say, well, I can help you. Well, no, it's not me, it's Frank. Or it's somebody else, and I can introduce you. I can help you. I've got this great network. I want to be your trusted source, your trusted advisor. And I can tell you that from a technology solutions perspective, as we are, we have to remind our existing customers frequently what we do because they think we only do the one thing we did for them last. We thought you guys only built websites. So we had somebody else build a mobile app. And it's like, well, why didn't you? Well, we didn't know. So assume that the customer has either forgotten you, forgotten what you do, doesn't know what you do, doesn't care what you do. You've got to keep them informed in a friendly, non-harassing, CASL-compliant way. And ultimately, you want to sell, right? All of these factors are to hopefully make you successful, make your organization successful, so that you're mutually successful. So I think Are we on? Are we okay? Then thank you very much, everyone. So I would invite questions if you have any. I can also sit down and invite John Zeri to come up. He loves questions. But is there anything you would like to know? Questions about anything we've talked about? Any experiences we've had from a technology perspective or sales solutions? Yes.
So I'll preface my question by mentioning that I am a CRM user, so I don't want it to sound cynical when I say what I'm about to say. But
Sure.
You spoke a little bit about cloud computing.
Yes.
And so one of the concerns I know myself I have, and you've seen a lot of businesses in the news that have been victims of like data breaches and whatnot. How do you address the protection of contact information in a CRM system, given the fact that they're, again, the contact can be exposed to these data breaches, especially when that information is up in the cloud? And just to piggyback a little bit off of that, I know a big concern is how different jurisdictions handle data. So again, in the United States, I believe that the U.S. any information on a U.S. server, I believe that the U.S. government might be able to get their hands on that information versus data held in Canada.
Sure. Okay. I'll take a stab at this, and then John can jump in if he wants. But it is something that has been a concern of clients. Data security. Where is my data? What sort of data am I putting up in the cloud? Is it a public cloud? Is it a private cloud? All of these sorts of questions. I think, so there are data breaches. I mean, Deloitte is going through a big one right now that you've probably seen in the news. Equifax and other organizations. I guess, there will be data breaches in the cloud. There will be data breaches within your environment. I think you need to look at the information that you're storing and how sensitive is that information, how secure is it, and beyond a data breach somewhere else by an unknown, sort of unnamed hacker, what are your risks of a data breach internally? So even if you've got your data on servers in your data center, and it's, there's a fine line to sort of security and access to information, and we work with clients on this frequently. So, what information do salespeople have? What information can they walk out the door with? What data is encrypted? The reality is that, almost everybody's walking around with a smartphone these days. And if I wanted to take a picture of the screen I'm looking at, of a system I have access to, and then email that to somebody, there's almost no way to control something like that. So I would say, people are becoming, I don't know if more accepting of the risk is the right answer, but certainly in talking to customers and clients, the conversations that we had 3 or 4 years ago of my data can't be in a cloud that's accessible outside of the country and things like that have become less and less as people have become more comfortable. The reality in some cases is whether it's here or in the U.S. or somewhere else, depending on why someone wants that data from a government, homeland security perspective, what have you, they may well get it anyways. So I think, it's the sensitivity of the data as to where that goes. For that same reason, we have a number of clients who go in and we didn't really talk about this, a hybrid scenario. So we've got some stuff in the cloud. Let's use some of our not-for-profit clients. So all of their fundraising activities and things like that, and their volunteers, because maybe they've got 50,000 of them across the country, are accessing information in the cloud because they don't want to manage that infrastructure. But their internal information stays in-house, and that's sort of how they're mitigating that risk. And those environments have single sign-on and are synchronized and tied together in different ways. So long-winded answer of not necessarily giving you a straight answer. But I think people are becoming more accepting. There is that risk, but the risk also exists internally, and there's a balance of putting in too many controls and making your staff or your salespeople ineffective because they can't do their job, right? It's on the cloud, but I can't download information to my laptop now. Well, that's a pain in the ass. Why am I going to do that? So they stop using it, right? So there's that balance of how easy is it to use and how secure is it, and how do they get their jobs done?
Doesn't it depend on what is they putting on the cloud? Because now everything seems to be moving to the cloud, right? It depends. Like in the security for access control, cameras, things like that.
Yeah.
Access control you can put up. Cameras, it's a little bit harder because of bandwidth.
Yep.
With your example, the Equifax, didn't they get hacked because they didn't update the patches? So if you're not updating the patches, you're not really securing your network, right?
Yeah, and again, the cloud is a term that can mean different things, right? As I mentioned, there's public cloud, if you think of Amazon Web Services and Google and things like that, and then there's private cloud, which again really isn't much different than you having a data center, an outsourced data center for your information. So who's managing that environment from a security perspective and access perspective?
Sorry, guys, I just want to get a couple quick questions in.
Yeah.
Can you share with the group, because we're going to get away from the technology just for a sec, when you guys started your business, John, what was your biggest assumption that you made that maybe was not a correct assumption? And what would have been your biggest challenge when you guys started? 15 years is a long time, especially when you guys started. What would you share with some of the folks that may be a startup, trying to go to the next level in their business? So can you talk a little bit about more in that area, Jonathan, if you can?
Sure, I can try and do that, and again, if John wants to add in. But one of the things we were fortunate enough to have is because of the acquisitions that had happened from United Systems to Cognicase to CGI, the interest in the larger enterprise technology company in dealing with a lot of the, we'll call them legacy clients who we dealt with, was not very high. They were looking for $1 million outsourcing deals, and those weren't the clients we had typically been working with. So from a startup perspective, we were extremely lucky to have a very active customer base that was interested in sort of signing on with us and continuing the relationship that we'd had. Incorrect assumptions. One of them I forgot to mention at United System Solutions, we were the largest Lotus Notes business partner in Canada, for those of you who are familiar with the Lotus Notes platform. So, and to this day, we still work with companies that are running Lotus Notes because it's really hard to get rid of it. So, an assumption that we made that has, I think, not played to our advantage as much as we wanted was we have tried to be technology advisors. We have tried to be technology agnostic. We've tried to come to meetings and give clients alternatives and options and listen to their business requirements, as opposed to saying, here's the best thing to do. I only represent one thing. Let's say CRM. I only represent Microsoft CRM. You need a CRM. CRM has to be the lifeblood of your organization. This one's the best, and here's what you need. And so, we go in and put together a proposal, and I'm just using that as an example, but we might say, well, you could use this or this, and here's the pros and cons. And depending on the customer and depending on your relationship with them, some value that, and some don't know you well enough and think that you're kind of wishy-washy. And they don't want the alternatives because they would like you to make their job easier, right? So tell me what's right, make it succinct, and then I can run it up and get approvals, and my life is easier, as opposed to you giving me too many options depending on what I might like to do or what might work best in 3 or 5 years and things like that. So I think that certainly has been a lesson learned for us is, again, the balance between giving somebody options and just telling them, here's what we believe the best solution is, why, and the price. So
this may be a loaded question, but if they have quite a few customers. Let's say that one of us needed an introduction to one of your customers. Do you guys do that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, again, we're in a... We are an organization of about 24 consultants. We have a large network of both technology partners as well as non-technology partners, and we understand that the easiest way to get a new sale is through a referral, right? Whether it's somebody who knows you that's moved to a different customer, or somebody who knows you because you used to work together, or somebody's cousin, or whatever it is, the referral is by far the easiest sales method than a cold call and again, trying to compete with 10 or 20 different people who are selling a similar product or a similar service. So, any way that makes it easier to connect those dots is certainly something that we look for and we're happy to do as well. Any other questions as we're at 9:31? All right. Well, then, thank you very much, everybody.